if we could stand for the prayer and pledge of allegiance. Scott will lead us in that.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this wonderful day. We just praise you for the mighty God that you are. Just thank you that your ways are higher than ours, that we can fully trust you, Father. Just thank you for this community, Lord, each citizen, Lord. We just pray that you would just give us wisdom and direction from your Spirit, Lord, and just guide us in this meeting. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you guys don't mind deviating just a little bit down to number 7 and 8, discussion and possible action regarding resignation of Darla Coates as EDTA secretary. Darla has moved into another position at City Hall, and she's going to be stepping down. So if we get a motion on that, please.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
A second.
If you'll call the roll, please, Jay.
I'm sorry, Berger?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Moore?
Not here.
Miller?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sorrell?
Yes.
And then number 8 is discussion and possible action regarding naming Jay as EDTA secretary. Jay is mayor's secretary, and she's stepping into a lot of those roles to fill in that void that Darla left. So if you guys are in favor of that, we could get a motion and a second
The
on
thing
that.
is, she in favor of that?
She said she was. I've got an email.
Here's the key question. So moved.
I second.
Okay, you'll do the roll.
Williams?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sorrell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Okay, now back up to approval of the minutes from the May 8th, 2023 regular meeting. Those are in your packet.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If you'll call the roll, please.
Miller?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sorrell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Next item is approved minutes from the June 15th, 2023 special meeting.
I'll move acceptance, please.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
If you'll call the roll, please.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sorrell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any petitions from the audience? We do not, so we'll move on. Report from Pryor Area Chamber of Commerce President Houston Britt.
Good afternoon, trustees. Can everybody hear me okay? Let me pass this around. All right, thank you for allowing me to speak. First and foremost, before we start, I'd like to extend a personal thank you to the EDTA for the Freedom Fest and working together with the city and all of the other nonprofits that put this thing together. It was a wonderful event. I think that Adam probably has a report that he's probably sent to you. If not, he will. Kind of some of the outline factors and kind of the representation that we got from across not only the county but the city and other cities. So I think it was a great deal. So thank you guys very, very much for approving that. It was a great event. Lots of things going on at the chamber. Biggest things that we're focusing on right now is we have 3 major events coming up in September. That being Rocklahoma, and then followed up the next weekend by Dam Jam, and then the week after that would be Born and Raised. So that's 3 very specific events which contribute to a lot of our tax revenue within this city and within the county, so we're very excited about that. I will tell you, as I was telling Adam this morning, the sales are up for each one of those over 50%. And so a lot more, it's driving a lot more, especially Born and Raised, driving a lot more people to town to stay in town. The hotels, we've already been trying to get hotels for folks, and they're pretty much full already. So it's going to be a great event. They're actually going to be bringing people over from the Hard Rock to the concert venue and to within Pryor. So there's gonna be a lot of folks shopping at Walmart and hopefully some of our downtown areas when they've got things to do. If there's ever any rain in there, a lot of times if there's a rain, a lot of people leave that camping venue and come into the city looking at our restaurants and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a great event. We're very excited about some really great lineups. And then Dam Jam, which is in between of that, we're looking at somewhere around 500 bikers this year. We're really putting a really big time focus on that. We're actually having a festival type event at the rec center. Thanks to Mr. Moore for allowing us to do that on his venue in the city. But we hope to bring just a little bit more than a bike ride. It's more of a festival type atmosphere, which will bring people to town as well. And then our next lunch forum is October. That'll be the State of the School. So Dr. Moeller will be speaking at that event. And then, believe it or not, we're already working on the Christmas parade. And this is going to be a collaborative effort between everyone in the city and our nonprofits and Main Street program to bring a hometown festival event to our Christmas parade. And that will be on a Saturday. It'll be December the 9th this year on the Christmas parade. So, any questions for me?
Good job.
Nope, good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Meredith, report from Main Street.
Hello. I know you guys are confused. Jenny is here, but she's been gone, and I've been the director in action, or, oh, I came up with a fancy name that nobody gave me except for me, and I was gonna roll it out, but acting director. I've been the acting director the last couple of months. It wasn't voted on or approved, but anyway. Okay, so we have been crazy busy, as everybody has. We did get the TAP grant. Last time I was here, I was able to tell you, like, we got it, we didn't know the specifics. Now we know the specifics. The grant was in the amount of $652,864. And then whenever we do the matching 103 that we got from TAP, or TSET, plus the 103 in kind and donations, like, this is an 800 and, okay, somebody didn't math it out for me.
860.
860.
862 or something like that, yeah. So it is a big, big deal. There, as you know, federal grants are awesome. Actually, any grant, I'll jump through any hoops. And they're put plenty of hoops in our way. And so we have had to meet with 3 different design firms and have them present to us. You know, we had been doing a lot of stuff with PDG, and they are all paid up, and we got their stuff, but then we had to interview 3 more, and we ended up going with Kimley Horn. That is a firm we actually just threw in. We were like, ooh, it's either gonna be Olson or PDG, but we threw that in because we heard about them when we were at Nationals training. They kept talking about Kimley Horn, Kimley Horn. So anyway, that is who we selected. We were waiting for them to turn it around and give us a good project deadline, timeline, not deadline, but timeline. So that, the grant, there's always something to do every week. There's reporting. We did the pedestrian counts, which showed the importance of the crosswalks. I was gonna say the sidewalks, but no, where the sidewalk ends and the road begins. Anyone know that song? No. All right, so anyway, where the sidewalk ends and the road begins, those crosswalks are so important. While watching, doing the pedestrian counts, we saw multiple people almost lose their life. We saw multiple cars run lights. We saw cars getting pulled over. And when I say we, it's the royal we. It's Adam and his fam. But no, I was out there a couple of times, and it was really bad. And so, you know, Google agreed to do a project, and we were like, could you do it painted? And so they painted that one crosswalk. They're gonna come back later this month and do a couple more, because it really has created an awareness of walkers. Like, we have walkers here. So anyway, it's...
And Meredith, if I can, so they didn't just come up with using several colors and kind of a design in the crosswalk just out of the blue on their own. There was a discussion with TSET where TSET threw out some ideas and said what we have found in other communities is the more visual elements you can put into it, as opposed to just a white crosswalk. If you can add color to it, if you can put some sort of picture on it or anything to kind of draw a driver's attention to it, it slows them down and it makes them aware of where it's at, and they tend to not stop on it as frequently as they do just the white bars. So, sorry.
No one, yeah. So that's what we're doing, and we're doing another side, the opposite side And we're getting that going just to educate people. And I know that is the intersection that will be worked on first. So all of that's gonna come up at one point, but that's okay. For now, this is like our first step. We had our carnival. I think I already told you guys all about that. So we had, the grants, all of that, business impact surveys, we did get that. And a lot of the vendors were like, this is like an incubator, like an opportunity to see what it would be like to have, like to fill the market out, to see if people are interested. And several were like, yes, we definitely want to do more. And it might even be something, I even reached out to Crafty Tiger at one point. One in particular might want to set their vendor, whatever, up at the Crafty Tiger. So it's a great opportunity. The beautification, flowers, crosswalks. Okay, real quick, we also have our MOU. Like, do we talk about that now or next?
No, it's the next agenda item.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, so we've had that going on. We had our golf tournament in June. June was a lot of reporting and a lot of planning. We have our Dancing with the Stars later this week. I hope everybody got a ticket and will be there. It's gonna be a good time. Unfortunately, this year, we weren't unable to get Jared Crisp out there, but big prayers and hopes for next year.
Never gonna happen.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We're excited about next year's headline dancer. And so we have that coming up. In the fall, we do have events in September, October, and November. And then plus, we're collaborating with the chamber and the district and everybody for the December. It's gonna be the second Saturday of December, an all-day Christmas, Hallmark Christmas Village, hometown Christmas. So yes, we have our first third Thursday back will be in September, and it'll be our art and our art walk. And then we'll have Halloween Town in October, and then we'll have our lights on in November. And all these are the third Thursdays, and then December, the second Saturday, will be a downtown event in collaboration with the whole city. So, any questions?
Just FYI,
Yeah.
we're gonna start a project over there on Adair Street, South Adair, due to the, Lonnie and Christie, what they're
Yes.
doing to their apartments and stuff. We gotta get a water line over there.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna be doing some major work over there. It's gonna cause some havoc for some of the patrons that park there on a daily basis, so I will let you know
Okay.
the schedule, when it's gonna happen. They just gotta bear with us, but it's in the best interest for all
Oh, yeah, we're
down
excited.
there, so.
Growing pains.
Just FYI, yeah.
That's
We're gonna
right.
be down there, and I'll get with you guys and give you kind of a timeline when that,
Okay, thank you.
when I firm it up with my foreman.
All right, appreciate you.
Okay, any other questions for Meredith or Main Street? Okay, well, thank you. So our next item is number 9, discussion and possible action regarding the renewal of the MOU between EDTA and Pryor Main Street through June 30th of 2024. This will include a discussion and presentation on the MOU from inception to June 30th of 2023. So in your packet, you have an outline of the MOU. If you remember, back in November of 2022, we voted to do an MOU with Main Street. This was something that had been worked on for quite some time. We formalized it, put it into writing. It included grant writing, data gathering, reporting, community development, Main Street coordination, project and oversight, and an EDTA loan and grant program coordination. So the first item was grant writing. There have not been any specific grants that have been written since the MOU was put into place. But one of the things that they have been managing is the ODOT and TSET grants. So as we've discussed, that's about 860,000 in grants coming into Pryor with 103 in matching funds from the community. To date, approximately 9,000 of those funds that we provided to Main Street have been used to manage and administer the streetscape project. And we did use, with these numbers, if we were putting any kind of hours or work hours into it, we were using some state directed numbers for what that typical number is for grant writers or for work done at the state level. Data gathering and reporting. The reports have included giving them here, May 8th of 2023, absent today's report was the last report. It is included in your packet as well. It included an OK Main Street Awards summary, their events update, Carnival Business Impact Summary, food truck permits and payment of sales tax, TSET grant update, facade grants, and TAP grant update. To date, we estimate about 2,300 of the funding has been used to support the creation and management of those surveys. A couple of those surveys, as you know, from doing this and starting it in November, we really didn't scale up until January to start building some of these reports. Those ladies have done a good job. They've built a business impact survey. I believe you have sent one of those out at this point, gotten some feedback. A business closing survey. One of the things that have come up is, you know, the economy is a little different than it was a few months ago, 6 months ago. So a business impact or closing survey to communicate with those businesses that are closing. Hey, why are you closing? What was happening? Kind of draw some metrics in there. Are they closing for personal reasons? Are they closing because of something with Pryor? Did they not like parking or whatever? I will say that out of the 2 or 3 that you've sent out, business owners have not sent those back in. Those are going to kind of be some sensitive subjects for some of them to talk about, so we're going to have to do some education with them and ensure them that will be used to help other business owners and maybe scale back some of the questions that we're asking so that they are more confidential in nature. Building inventory, there is a list now that they are keeping up to date of who's renting each business, who owns the business, what their products are that they sell. And ladies, jump in at any time if I'm saying anything wrong. And then a pedestrian count, which was a vital part of getting TSET to sign off on the grant, and in some ongoing matters with TSET. I know we worked with the ag kids from the school to come down and do those counts. And you have a summary of those counts in your book. But I think TSET was pretty surprised and happy with those numbers. They thought that was a good count of people in Pryor at that intersection in particular. We've talked about when school starts back up, having some opportunities, maybe spread it out a little bit and have some of those students sit at different intersections and do some of those counts as well. And this would be something that we can provide to building owners or potential tenants for those buildings to let them know, hey, here's the foot traffic and here's what time it is. Thought about adding in some Saturdays. These counts were all specific to the days, to business days, which is what TSET wanted. The next item is the Main Street Corridor Project Coordination and Oversight, which we know is the streetscape now, but it also included training and staff development. Main Street attended the national conference, the marketing management, including marketing downtown Pryor and Main Street events, crosswalk project, supplies and coordination, and then general beautification. To date, $16,451 has been spent on Main Street coordination and oversight. 2,300 in training, 9,300 in marketing and management, 1,300 on the crosswalk, and 3,300 in beautification. And then the EDTA loan and grant program coordination. This is the facade grants. So one of the things that we've talked about when the program is up and running completely, going for a full year, not just 6 months, is being able to do more facade grants. So I know that they're gearing up to do another facade grant in the fall. This grant was in the spring. To date, $10,893 in funding has been used to support the grant, and I have photos of the before and afters for each of the businesses in this packet. So the facade grants totaled themselves $9,970 and a penny. Those were matched with funds from the business owners to do those improvements. I think it's probably safe to say the amount that's really been spent between the facade grant and the building owner's match is probably closer to $30,000 when you consider the work that's been done down at Boomerang. And that's our only outdoor venue downtown for eating, so that's pretty exciting. And then community development. This is the carnivals, any downtown event that they may have. So to date, $9,303 in funding has been spent downtown for the carnival and management of the carnival and those events. And then in closing, the initial phase of the MOU between EDTA and Main Street has produced good results with the base being built for the future success of both organizations. When the MOU was entered into in November of 2022, the plan was to use the initial term as a period of development of programs, surveys, and reports. We talked then that not a lot of in-your-hands finished product was going to be available in that 6-month period, beginning January 1st. Those goals have been accomplished, and out of the $55,000 in funding provided to Main Street during the initial term, the total expenditures by Main Street into programs and administration of those programs stands at approximately $48,000. The remaining $7,000 will be used in upcoming programs and events and is still dedicated to the MOU and its requirements. So I would encourage renewal of the MOU. I'd like to have some discussion if you guys have any questions or comments. Under the original terms, this would renew it at $5,000 per month for a total of $60,000 for a year. The funds will be continued to be used as outlined above with the addition of programs under the MOU, all consistent with what we decided to do in November of 2022.
How much does sales tax bring in yearly?
That sales tax brings in about $120,000 a year. We run between $10,000 and $11,000 a month.
And so I think, so people understand. I think what I'm hearing from you is that this grant, you know, the $862,000 roughly that's coming or is now in hand, did these funds assist in getting that done?
These funds did assist in getting that done.
Okay, to an extent that made it possible?
Yes.
So the funds, and I just think it's helpful for the public perspective. These funds that are now in hand will be utilized, and I know we've had the presentation before, but if we have a synopsis, will be used to do specifically what?
Which, the streetscape or the $5,000 per month?
The $862,000. What is the people gonna be able to see when they go downtown to physically see the changes that will make?
It's phase one of the project.
Right, so what does that consist of? And when are we looking at that happening?
Phase one of the project will, phase one of
And
the
I'm
project.
not
will
asking for a
consist
big
of-
repeat, I just
No.
think it would be helpful to have a reminder.
Yes,
So
so,
you give the design elements and I'll do the timeline.
okay, so the design elements, well, the signalization on the streets, you know, we've talked about how we're not ADA compliant. They will be ADA compliant. The brick pavers on the sidewalks and the crosswalks, that's gonna be a huge visual element that they're gonna see. The downtown district, sign on Adair Street, on both north and south, that is a huge element like they are going to see. With the wayfinding signage and some beautification, some more seating. I think, no, the seating, the benches are more in phase two, but yes. So it's going to make a huge impact. They're gonna see it. It's gonna look, they're gonna come downtown and say, one of these is not like the other. And this is the direction we're hoping to go. More trees. You have that. Thank you.
Also to add, it's infrastructure pieces too. So there's
Yes.
beautification, but there's drainage issues that's gonna be fixed, curb and gutter issues that are gonna be fixed. And also safety issues of closing in the connections between one street to another. And also completing some of the promises that we've made to the public about their surveying and things like that we've done in the last year past. So it's also more than just being pretty, it's also safety and walkability.
Functional. So as far as timeline, so we had originally envisioned that this would be bid this year, and that there could be a groundbreaking in November of 2023. Once TSET was in place and then the TAP grant was awarded in place, and TAP has openly said they have a lot of communities that they have had to put the project off, and it has a little bit longer timeline. TAP is now saying that it will be a 2024 bid project. So they anticipate it going out to bid in April or May of '24. And then that would put groundbreaking in August, September of '24, and completion in the May, June of '25. So
Yeah,
the-
I found out it was a lot slower. When I talked to the TAP lady, our project manager, I was like, okay, we're hoping for a November groundbreaking, we want it done. And she was like, wow, that's very optimistic. And I was like, oh, man, that's a bummer.
So that's when the,
Notes.
you know, Jared, I think you might have some insight on how long it takes for some of these projects when you're dealing with
Well,
state.
I mean, just when you start, go out for bid, you're at least 90 days before you even start churning dirt. That's if you get your contracts in place. But, yeah, I just would like, on the MUB side of things, that Kimley Horn work hand in hand with me, because there's gonna be a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts, and I don't wanna come at the end and then be a butthole.
We actually, that was one of the questions we asked each of the firms was, how, you know, can you work with Jared straight up at MUB in working through the process from day one and the communication, and then also being able to change on the fly? Because we had talked to Buddy at the street department, and he was talking about that as well, and so they are aware, and they said yes, yes.
Yeah, communication is key on a project like
Yes.
this.
And they said that they would do like weekly or bi-weekly updates with pictures and saying, this is what's happened this week, this is what we've done this week, this is, you know, but I would expect you to be there and,
I just want in on the front end.
They said that you would
Absolutely.
be,
yeah,
and that they would, if something was uncovered, a water line that
Yes.
nobody was aware of, or that they weren't aware of, they would be very comfortable with contacting you directly and saying, hey, can you come look at this, and we need to make another plan.
I pretty know where a lot of my stuff is in this area. They better hit me before they start digging.
They will.
they will, and we will make for sure, but I'm positive they will.
And then, and some people are aware too, the MOU, I understand, we did it for 6 months, right?
Yes,
And now we're looking for a year renewal, but it still contains an out clause for either party, I think, does it not?
yes, it still contains the out.
Which is,
Well, it would be at the renewal.
I mean, I thought there was a potential 60-day notice somewhere between now and,
I thought there was an out clause.
yeah.
I recall one.
I think there was. There should be a 60-day out in it by
for
either party. 90-day.
90 days.
Either party may terminate this agreement upon 90 days written notice to the non-terminating party. Any other comments or thoughts?
Well, my only other comment, and I know we've got them as two separate items here, is the funding for this. And I know it comes from the, I mean, we're kind of just the vehicle used for the city funds that come from the sales tax to forward this to Main Street to use this. And I don't know if this is a, you know, mayor, or is, you know, we've got here funds coming from us to pay for this and anticipated we'd get reimbursed. Well, this isn't something the EDTA can keep doing on its own, and we have other, I think, projects in mind for those other monies that we actually have. Is there some kind of timeline? I mean, does that have to be renewed by the city? Is there a timeline when the city will approve that again? So we get those funds going for this?
There should be. So the funds that were budgeted last year
Uh-huh.
are, as of right now, we haven't got our budget approved yet, but those are to be on there again.
Yeah, we've talked about it, and we don't anticipate there being any problems, but there may be some questions. So the next item is to discuss the funding. But
Well, I
this one
understand. I
has
think
got
it-
the same clause in it that did before. We're entering into the MOU, and then we're going to request funding from Fund 68, and all parties understand that if there is no funding from Fund 68, then there is nothing to pay for the,
Well, if that.
MOU.
And then I think that's extremely important to be part of the motion where this item is approved, that it is contingent upon receiving the funding and approval from the city to continue that. So we don't hook ourselves into something with a 90-day notice.
Out.
Yes,
Sure.
So I think that would need to be part of the motion.
Okay, so we have and that is, there is a funding contingency that is in the agreement, that the funding and all extensions hereof shall be subject to the receipt of the EDTA of funding from the city of Pryor Creek on an annual basis in such amount as sufficient to satisfy the EDTA obligations as specified herein.
I understand. We just need to know that pretty soon. I mean, when do you anticipate having a budget?
Well, we're wrapping it up, so they were just finalizing the last numbers from June's payables and things like that, so the goal is any day, we should get the last of the numbers.
That would hopefully maybe be approved by the next council meeting?
But,
Well, one would hope.
Yeah.
but Fund 68 is not part of their budgeting process.
Right. No.
Well,
I have to get on the agenda and I have to go make a presentation to the city council to specifically get approval for Fund 68,
then that could possibly happen next council meeting.
if I have time.
You may not, I may. So I just think it's important that we keep those funds flowing. So
Yeah.
I think that's what they were put in place for. I think that's what they were voted on for. And I think that we just need to keep those flowing.
So this motion would be to renew the MOU with the existing contingency for funding coming from Fund 68 and the 90-day out, which is already in the MOU.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. If you would call the roll, please.
Sorrell,
Yes.
Berger,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes. Okay, and now number 10, discussion and possible action regarding payment from EDTA funds for the MOU with Pryor Main Street for July 2023 and August 2023. This will allow time for the request to be made to City Council for funding from Fund 68. It's anticipated that Fund 68 would reimburse EDTA for those payments once approval is received. So the reason for having July and August on here is that gives Zach and I time to work on the presentation to City Council, and then have the potential for City Council to ask for additional information and us needing to table that item at a council meeting and come back. So the anticipation is that at the next City Council meeting, we would have a request on there for Fund 68. But then again, like I said, there could be the potential for it to be tabled or the City Council to ask for more information. So I wanted to build in there the ability to make payments under under the MOU using EDTA funds at $5,000 per month. And then we would have the ability to, in that request, point out to City Council that if it is longer than July and August, that those funds would be used to reimburse EDTA for those payments under the MOU.
Well, the July and August payments are gonna get reimbursed no matter what, right?
From who?
From the Fund 68.
Not if the City Council says no.
What's the EDA funds look like right now?
We have roughly 94,000 in there. And that's after we paid 25,000 for the fireworks show and then collected, I think we have 1,500 in checks that are still on their way from a couple of sponsors. So we're around 94,000. And I have no reason to think that the city won't, or the City Council will not approve funding from Fund 68. But I do know that taking time to get it on the agenda, answer their questions, potentially have something tabled for more questions, and then coming back with that could lead us into going from July into August. And there is some good momentum with the MOU and in getting the data collected and in what these ladies are doing, especially with the streetscape. And that 94,000 was the unencumbered portion of our funds. 35,000 has been budgeted for other projects like the softball field. We approved funding for the fencing, and then a couple thousand is left to go up for soccer under the approval that we did for some updates out there.
Yeah, I don't think I have issues with the council showing that what the girls have done to date, in my mind, but
I don't either, but I don't want to. I don't want to speak for them.
Well, I guess the way I'm understanding this, if the council doesn't, come the end of August, this MOU is gonna cease because it's not gonna be funded.
Correct.
So, I mean, I think it's making it that plain, quite frankly. Because if we're seeing progress, hopefully we don't have any issues with the council wanting to continue that progress.
We have been very transparent and open with talking with counselors, and they know the projects that are going on, so I don't foresee any, but again, I don't think there will be any, and standing up there and asking for funding's always an unknown.
That's what it was intended for.
So, we have a motion to approve those two payments.
I so move.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second. And it's understood that the request from the funding will be to reimburse those.
Yes.
2 months.
Okay, if you will call the roll, please.
Berger,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Sorrell.
Yes.
Okay, our next item is discussion and possible action regarding formation of a public pool task force. Details of the task force makeup and structure included in your packet. It is the last page of your packet. So this came out of discussions with Mayor and with Mike Moore, the director of the rec center. Mike, if you want to come up so you can help with this. So as we all know, it has been a big topic of every conversation, a public pool. And talking with Mayor and with Mike, Mike has a lot of experience with athletic programs and fundraising and setting a direction. So Mayor asked if the EDTA would be interested in calling for a task force to be stood up, kind of being the reporting organization or the accountability organization. And, you know, the thought was that doesn't dictate to any one of our existing groups or committees that, hey, you have to get a pool. You know, the pool's gonna be at this place, or the pool's gonna be at this other place. This would be a very open task force to form all of the ideas from the ground up about a public pool. Mike, I'll let you kind of talk.
Sure. Well, there's been lots of side conversation over the last 2 or 3 months, I guess. I've talked to a couple of the different park board members about, you know, what they were thinking, just, you know, being new myself, just trying to get a little background information on what the conversation's been and kind of some of the direction. Haven't been to the board formally yet. We're trying to kind of talk on our side with our rec board and all, and just see what may or may not, you know, be on the table at some point in time, I guess. And they seem to be, you know, somewhat open to, you know, ideas and all. Nothing was said, but I think the general sentiment is that the old pool is probably run its course. So just conversation began. Talk about, well, what does it look like if it was held on the rec center property? We've got some area in the back that could probably host a pool setting of some sort. So that's kind of where it all spawned, and then it kind of just started rolling from there. And so I just happened to be talking to the gentleman at PDG, Jim Crosby, and they've done a lot of pools and things, and I asked him about, you know, process and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where this information you have began. I tweaked it a little bit. Adam went over it a little bit, just to kind of condense it, I think, just a little bit for simplicity's sake in the early going. And so, you know, I think, you know, the EDT is maybe somewhat of a neutral party, you might say. There may be some benefits from a funding standpoint, getting the EDTA involved in, with grants and those sorts of things. So anyway, I brought it to our board and basically said, you know, these are some of the conversations. Are you all open to entertaining the possibility of it, of the rec being involved in it in some form or fashion? You know, we're set up pretty well, I think, to manage something like that. We've got hiring process. We have a young lady on board that is very capable, I think, of managing something like that, has some experience, is doing a great job with our current pool in many ways. So, you know, just at some point, I think, you know, the city would, you know, I'm an old Pryor guy, and would like to see something put back in place, and probably the time is now with the status of the old pool. So that's kind of what spawned this. So I'd entertain any questions, or maybe collectively.
Yep.
Houston's here, he's aware of what's going on, so.
Roughly how much land area is available to the north?
Oh gosh, I don't know exactly what the acreage might be, but it's fairly good size. There's a plan on the table that was done before I got here about developing that area out there, and that's kind of where I got the information, or where I started when I talked to this gentleman with PDG Group to kind of get some background. I couldn't tell you, to be honest, on exactly what it is, but it's good size.
Well, if you got the pool there, then you stop the expansion of the existing center.
Yeah.
That should occur.
Well,
That would go to the west.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We would have time, because there's the backyard project, and then there would be there's a preliminary plan about adding some gym space onto the west. So we could still accommodate that, which I think that needs to be thought about as well.
That's a good point. You haven't limited yourself with, you're gonna be able to expand your rec center as needed,
Yeah,
or as funding
yeah.
comes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, because I think,
You don't wanna sell yourself short with a pool back there.
yeah, because there's, you know, I think as time goes on with more facility, we can do more for the community and the county. So yeah, that won't impede that at all.
And I'm assuming this task force would be not looking just at that location, would be looking possibly other locations within the city, because if you just put it, and I'm not saying, I mean, the rec area may be the perfect place, but you also don't want it, I mean, you want a public pool, so people don't think, I have to be a paying member of the rec to be able to use the pool. So there may be pluses to have it located somewhere else too.
And there's been talk about that, you know, are there other areas around the community?
I think it would be safe to say that for the beginning and the initial meetings, it is going to be listening to the citizens, listening to the individual boards about where they want it to be. I don't think that there's been any kind of directive from mayor that says it has to be here.
So the game plan here is that, you know, we recognize the facility we have now at the current outdoor pool it's shot, like you said, it's run its course. Cost and expense aren't going to allow us to fix that up anymore. It's done. But, you know, I passionately feel that we need to open the dialogue on what we can do, what we need to do, what we should do. And so that's where the encouragement to the task force came from, was that, you know, let's open that dialogue. Let's see what we can come up with collectively. There's going to be a lot of brainstorming, a lot of, you know, yes to this idea, no to that idea, yes to this. But we want to put together a group, a balanced group that says, you know, we can work together and come up with something to present to the city, to the council, to the community on how we can resolve this situation. We by no means want to be without, but for the time being, we're going to have to be without until we can come up with something. And so we don't want to set this on a shelf and walk away, you know, the idea of a pool. You know, one of the things we're going to keep in the back of our mind is that our kids need something, our families need something. And so as we go forward, the idea is, let's get a group, a good group together, a well-rounded group of park board, rec board, citizens, EDTA members that say, here's the best of the minds putting together what we can put together. And so going forward, there will be a lot of collaborating, a lot of brainstorming, yays and nays, but this is to keep that dialogue moving, that we've got to do something.
So the outline that the conversation came up with was EDTA would have 2 members on there appointed by the EDTA. The park board would have 2 members appointed by the park board. The rec board would have 2 members, again, appointed by the rec board. Park and cemetery department head. User group community reps, there would be 3 individuals appointed by the mayor. The rec center director and the rec center aquatics director. That group would be tasked with compiling a list of the desired elements with committee and public engagement. Work with a design company to create a concept image board's budget based on desired elements, and then develop a funding plan that would include private dollars, grants, and public dollars. Mike, if you'd like to talk a little bit about the grants or what your research has shown there.
Yeah, one of the, there's the land and water conservation grants are available for these specifically these type of products, and they're dollar for dollar match. I did a little research on my own. Jim Crosby kind of pointed me in that direction. They've done a lot of that with they've done Sand Springs, Sapulpa, Salisaw, other pools in our region. And so he's been very helpful, a wealth of information. And so I've done just, some cursory, taking a look at that. But there is some availability. And I think, between that, some corporate dollars, and then maybe at the end, some city dollars at some point in time, however that shakes out, we can make this happen. And we need to make it happen in some form or fashion, I think. So I'm excited about the opportunity to be involved with it and do anything I can to see that it happens.
And as far as a timeline, the beginning process, we would start meeting the 1st of August of this year, assuming that everybody can get their recommendations and approvals in. A construction drawing phase, mid-2024 completion. We'd have some good concepts and be able to go out for some bids. Refine those concepts, design company to do 65% set of drawings and specifications, update the cost estimate, get feedback from the community again. Bidding phase would be completed by the end of the year 2024, and then we would go into a construction phase in 2025, and then a pool opening target of spring 2026. We wanted some realistic expectations in here so that people could see that action was being taken, that they could see a timeline and some accountability with, okay, we were supposed to have this piece done by now, where is that? And I think that's where Mike will bring some good input and good concepts into this. We would have him chair this group to direct it with his knowledge and experience at the rec center.
Well, let's call this I won't call it the 64,000, let's call it the $64 question. How is this task force funded?
Well, that's part of what we, as a task force, have to.
Well, I know, but if we have in here, the plan is we're gonna have a design company to compile a 65% set of drawings and specifications. That's not gonna happen unless there's funding. So do we just have this task force just first is enabled to just kind of plan, dream, and put something together and then come back? Because you're gonna need
Yes.
funding before you do that. So this is just kind of we hope this happens.
Right.
But just so people don't understand, this is not this ain't happening until you got money to do it.
100%. And I think that's a very good point, Fred, that this is to get the process started, and we will get to a point to get to those 65% drawings. If we have not allocated some kind of funding plan, grants or whatever that's available to get to that piece, we will have to come back to the EDTA, or they'll have to come back to the EDTA or to the city and say, okay, we're to this point, here's the public engagement on it, now we need to go to the next phase and we need some funding.
Yeah, do people want to pay for it? Yeah, I understand. So, just so people don't think there's money in place right now to do
Good
all
point.
of this.
Any other questions, Mayor?
No, I think, like I said, as we go down through there, step one is, can we figure it out? what we want to do, come up with a plan. Once we come up with that plan, then, you know, we start that funding process, whatever that is, you know, and then from there we move forward, I think. But step one is taking the dialogue and coming up with a tentative master plan of what we want to do.
And I think we do have one city councilor here that has been pretty adamant about a pool. Bruce, do you have anything to?
I was gonna guess which council member that is, since I only have one present, I think, but.
Is he ready to dive in?
I don't know, Jared, you want to be on this committee? We're gonna need to know where we can tap into water.
I mean, I will be able to help out as long as my schedule allows. And right now, my schedule is you're throwing darts,
Yeah, well,
unfortunately, but that's just, it is what it is. But I have no problem if you want somebody from MUB. And if I can't make it, I'll have my assistant make it, or somebody be able to represent MUB to come to
at
that.
some point, we're gonna,
I think we have Mayor and Jared on as ad hoc, or as,
Ex
ex officio.
So, I mean,
Just-
yeah.
I have found Jared always willing to answer questions when he's asked of them, so.
I may not like the answer, but I'll give you an answer.
So that's the outline of the public pool task force. If everybody's in favor, we need a motion.
I so move.
We have a
Just,
motion.
you know, in your plan, if you don't mind, make a motion to add a MUB representative, if you don't mind.
Nope, no problem.
So we will add in that we will add a MUB and a mayor representative.
Please and thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Don, are you okay with your
Yes.
motion being with that? Okay, so we need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
No.
Oh, no, we don't do it that way here. You have to call the roll.
School board, we don't do that here.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Sordahl,
Yes.
Berger.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is discussion and possible action regarding appointment of the EDTA chair to the Public Pool Task Force, the vice chair to serve in the absence of the chair.
Just a word of advice to a chairman, don't wear yourself out.
If I stay home, I have to take care of animals, so. But I understand.
It's just an older person giving advice to a younger person. Do not wear yourself out.
I will not.
And I can tell you when you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
So based on that stipulation, I would so move.
okay, we have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, if you call the roll?
Miller,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Sordahl,
Yes.
Berger,
Yes.
I know.
Williams.
Yes.
Older person.
Thank you. Now we need discussion and possible action to determine and approve one trustee other than the chair to serve as the Public Pool Task Force representative. And we can table this for the next meeting, or we can,
I'd be more than happy to recommend either Larry or Don, but,
Or who's the two not here?
well, that's not fair.
Daryl,
But I think they both bring expertise to this, so I don't know if there's a willingness on either one.
I'm fine with it.
But then I would, do you find with Don doing this?
I find the Don, I find him a very capable person when it comes to water and pools and stuff like that.
I would make a motion that Don Berger be the other representative trustee on this task force.
okay, so we have a motion for Don. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, if you will call the roll, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Sordahl,
Yes.
Berger,
Abstain.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Okay, the next item, discussion and possible action regarding approving Courtney Davis for access to electronic banking methods, remote deposit, and to receive information on the EDTA's banking accounts. So, I'm a signer, Scott is a signer, Darla is remaining a signer, on the EDTA's account, but what we discovered when we were doing the, checks for fireworks, that Courtney did not have any authorization for the EDTA's funds to even ask questions, get balances, which is going to make it a little more difficult to keep updated reports. So this is to give her that access. And, you know, if we want to change later and add Jay in as a signer and stuff, we can do that.
I think it'd be appropriate at some point in time to have the current secretary be the signer and remove, the one that has resigned to remove that and to make her the other signer. I just think that would be appropriate.
But for now, are you guys okay with Courtney having access to get the balance and
Yes.
deposit?
I'll make a motion.
Scott made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, if you'll call the roll.
Sorrell,
Yes.
Berger,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes. And then our next item, possible executive session in compliance with 25 OS 307 C11 for the purpose of the Pryor EDTA. EDTA is a public trust to confer on matters pertaining to economic development, including the possible transfer of property, financing, or the creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the jurisdiction of the EDTA, and public disclosure of the matter discussed would interfere with the development of products or services.
I would so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay. You'll call the roll, please.
Oh, okay, Berger,
Oh, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Sorrell.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor, may we use your conference room with you?
Yep.
You gotta invite me in for it since I'm ex officio.
Do what now?
You gotta invite me in because I'm ex officio.
Yeah, I think you can sit on it because you're ex officio.
I don't need to be invited.
Return to open session.
Okay. So, and then statement of executive session. During executive session, the EDTA held confidential communications regarding the matter listed under agenda item number 15 on the agenda for this meeting. The meeting was held in compliance with 25 OS Statute 307C11. No other matters were discussed and no votes were taken.
No motions, no votes.
No motions, no
And
votes.
any minutes taken in that meeting will be sealed and placed properly in the city vault.
Correct.
And now we need, having no other business, we'll adjourn.
Yep.
That's good.
You don't need to vote to do that either.
All rise.
Huh? I know, I'm amazed at the way it's.
Nothing like an executive session.
You have a few minutes?
No.